The radio burst alive with three words that froze Captain Mara Quinn's veins solid. "We're getting overrun." Peering through her scope from 300 meters out, she saw 12 muzzle flashes spark through the jungle canopy like deadly fireflies. The SEAL team was pinned inside a valley so dense with vines you couldn't even see the sky. Precision fire rained from unseen positions. Shots they couldn't locate, suppress, or survive. Over 50 hostiles boxed them in, outnumbering them 10-1, and the math was brutal. In 10 minutes, 8 good men would be gone. Standard orders said to wait for air support, call the quick reaction unit, keep observing. She was just one sniper with one rifle. The manual claimed she couldn't shift the odds against 50 entrenched enemies. But Mara had never been the type to watch people die by the book. She slid a 50 caliber round into her Barrett M82A1, adjusted for humidity and elevation, and pressed her comms once more. "Ground Team Echo, stay low. I'm on it." What unfolded over the next 8 minutes became legend. 12 pinpoint kills that turned certain slaughter into a miracle, delivered by a woman the enemy never even saw until it was already over. Mara Quinn had carved her place in the Special Operations sniper ranks the hard way, by outperforming everyone around her. Standing 5'6" with auburn hair tied tight in a regulation bun, she didn't exactly look like the face of death behind a scope. The instructors at Fort Dalton had bet she'd last 3 days before quitting. She finished top of the class instead, setting accuracy records that still hadn't been beaten. 2 deployments, and 3 years later, she was attached to SEAL Team 9 on operations in Korath Province, a place where American forces officially didn't exist, doing things that officially never happened. The jungle there was unlike anything from training. Triple canopy rainforest where sightlines vanished, humidity clung like oil, and the foliage made its own weather. The mission sounded simple. The SEALs would recon a suspected enemy logistics hub, observe and report, avoid direct contact. Mara would cover them from the ridgeline, making sure no one slipped near their landing zone. But intelligence had failed catastrophically. What analysts had tagged as a small supply post turned out to be a forward operating base packed with a full battalion, an army waiting for this exact incursion. The ambush that followed was textbook perfection. The SEALs advanced into the valley along what looked like an animal trail, maintaining such strict noise discipline they were practically ghosts. But whoever set this trap knew exactly how American special ops teams moved. They let the SEALs creep deep into the kill zone before unleashing hell from high ground on 3 sides. The 4th was sealed off by a river. Too deep, too fast to cross while under fire. A perfect L-shaped ambush. No escape, no cover, no chance. From her elevated nest, Mara watched the nightmare unfold through her scope. Muzzle flashes burst across a dozen points at once. The SEALs answered instantly, calm voices cutting through the radio as they fought for their lives in what had become a death valley. Then came the first casualty call, then another. Then the message that froze her. "We're outnumbered 10-1. Enemy has superior elevation and overlapping fire. Air support needed now, or we're done." But the jets were 30 minutes out. The quick reaction unit 45. The SEALs had maybe 10 minutes before the trap closed completely. Doctrine said stay put, gather intel, coordinate support. She was one sniper. The manual said one sniper couldn't change the outcome. Mara had built her career proving the manual wrong. She pressed her radio. "Ground Team Echo, this is Overwatch. I've got multiple positions in sight, prepping to engage." A pause. The team leader's voice came back, strained but steady. Overwatch negative. Maintain observation. You can't hit that many targets alone. Watch me, she replied, then switched her comms to receive only. The Barrett M82A1 was anything but quiet. Half-inch rounds screaming out at nearly 3,000 feet per second, capable of ripping through concrete and engines alike. Most snipers used it to destroy hardware. Mara used it for people, because in jungle terrain, where targets were shadows, the power of a .50 caliber gave her the margin smaller rounds couldn't. She had already mapped out 12 enemy nests, elevated positions holding 3 to 5 fighters each, some manning heavy guns, all with clean sightlines into the valley where the SEALs were dying. The math was cruel. 12 nests, 8 minutes before total collapse. 1 rifle. That gave her roughly 40 seconds per kill, including finding, ranging, correcting for wind, firing, and shifting position before counterfire. Impossible odds. Exactly her specialty. She slid behind her weapon, breathing steady, and began the most intense 8 minutes of shooting in Special Operations history. Target 1, range 347 meters, left flank, heavy gun 20 meters above the valley floor, 3 enemies visible, 1 firing, 2 feeding ammo. The gunfire was chewing through foliage, soon to find flesh. Mara steadied her crosshairs on the gunner's chest, a soft crosswind, minor correction. She exhaled, felt her heartbeat slow, and squeezed the trigger. The Barrett thundered. Through her scope, the gunner vanished in a red haze. She didn't wait to see the others panic, already rolled 3 meters right to her backup perch. Return fire shredded her old spot 5 seconds later. Perfect aim, wrong target. Time, 38 seconds. 1 nest down, 11 to go. Target 2. Range, 298 meters. Position covering the valley mouth, the SEAL's only exit. 4 fighters, 1 PKM. The team leader's voice begged fire support on that exact location. It was the cork in the bottle. Mara locked on, recalculated, fired. The shot hit low, tearing through the gunner's abdomen instead of his chest. With a .50 cal, placement didn't matter. Center mass anywhere was fatal. She was already on the move before the shell hit the dirt, sliding into position 3. Her rule was simple. Shoot, shift, survive. Never pull the trigger twice from the same spot. Never become a fixed target. Time check, 1 minute, 19 seconds. 2 nests down, 10 to go. Target 3, range, 412 meters. Elevated ridge to the right, commanding the whole valley. A leadership node. 2 fighters with radios were directing the chaos below. Mara gave herself an extra breath. Longer shot, more wind drift, more drop, more time for the bullet to fly. She inhaled, held the calm between heartbeats, squeezed. The first man dropped instantly, as if someone had cut his strings. The second scrambled for the radio, but Mara had already reloaded. Second shot, second body down. Silence fell over that ridge, and the enemy's coordinated fire began to crumble. Without command, every gun position fired blindly, losing rhythm and direction. Time check, 2 minutes, 15 seconds. 4 confirmed kills, 8 positions left. Overwatch, whatever you're doing, keep at it, the SEAL leader barked through comms. Their fire's thinning. We're moving again. Mara didn't answer, already lining up the next threat, her breathing even, her mind slipping into what the instructors called the zone. That trance where time stretched thin and everything made perfect sense, where impossible became instinct. Target 4, range 356 meters. Another machine gun nest, tucked behind a fallen log offering solid cover. The gunner was sharp, popping up for 2-second bursts before ducking back down. Mara waited. Patience. That was a sniper's true edge. He'd have to rise again. The moment he did, she'd have less than 2 seconds. There. He rose, leveled his weapon, swept the SEAL line. Her crosshairs were already locked. She fired the instant he appeared. The 50 cal slug slammed into his upper chest, transferring more than 10,000 foot-pounds of energy, launching him backward over his own cover. Time: 2 minutes, 58 seconds. 5 down, 7 left. The enemy finally caught on. They had a ghost in the tree line. Gunfire ripped toward her area, wild but growing tighter. They still couldn't spot her exact position. She kept moving, weaving through brush, using every tree, every shadow. Bullets cracked past, close enough to feel the air snap, but fear wasn't an option. The SEALs were counting on her. Target 5, range 289 meters, enemy fighters circling left through the jungle trying to flank. The deadliest threat yet. If they reached that line, her team would be trapped in a crossfire with zero cover. Mara tracked the lead man through tangled foliage, partially hidden, constantly moving. A tough shot. She led him a fraction ahead, compensating for stride and direction, and fired. The round caught him clean in the ribs as he stepped between 2 trees. He folded instantly. The fighters behind him dove to the ground, the entire flank assault collapsing in a heartbeat. Time: 3 minutes, 44 seconds. 6 down, 6 to go. Halfway through, though it felt like hours, her shoulder throbbed from the Barrett's recoil despite perfect form and its heavy buffer system. Sweat stung her eyes beneath the headband, but her grip never wavered. Her grip never faltered. Though the adrenaline that had kept her razor-sharp was ebbing, fatigue creeping at the edges of her focus. She shoved it aside. The SEALs didn't need her drained. They needed her deadly. Target 6. Range: 445 meters. A long shot. Enemy marksman on the far ridge, searching for her with a precision rifle. She caught the faint shimmer of his scope glass sweeping across the slope. This one was personal. Sniper versus sniper. A duel built on patience and nerve. He was skilled, disciplined, had nearly pinned her twice. But Mara had survived tougher hunts, against sharper eyes, in worse terrain. She adjusted for wind drift, drop, and distance, then fired. The bullet needed over a second to reach him. Through her scope, she saw him jerk violently, then collapse, his rifle tumbling down the rocks. Time: 4 minutes, 38 seconds. 7 down, 5 to go. The enemy's gunfire thinned. The SEALs used the lull to tend wounds and prep to pull out, but they were still boxed in. Mara had to finish the job before they could move. Target 7, range 312 meters. 3 fighters huddled behind a boulder, planning another assault. Too close together for comfort. She aimed at the middle one, knowing the Barrett's brute force might punch straight through. One squeeze, one explosion of recoil, the round tore through the center man and exited into the one behind him. 2 down with 1 shot. The third man bolted, vanishing into the brush. Time: 5 minutes, 21 seconds. 9 nests gone, 3 to go. Overwatch, we're prepping to move, the SEAL leader said, his voice no longer hopeless. We need those last positions silenced. On it, Mara replied, eyes already tracking target 8. Range: 267 meters. Closest nest, most dangerous. A heavy machine gun crew blanketing the valley, pinning her allies down. The gun shield covered the shooter's torso, so she aimed for the ammo bearer instead. The shot hit him dead center. His dying flinch pulled the belt sideways, jamming the weapon. The gunner twisted to fix it, exposing himself. Her second round hit before he even realized. The heavy weapon died mid-roar. Time, 6 minutes, 29 seconds. 11 positions erased. 1 left. 91 seconds remaining in her 8-minute window. Target 9. Range, 389 meters. Leadership cell, trying to rally what was left for one last push. 2 men with radios, maps open between them, officers, maybe senior NCOs. This had to be clean. Take them both, collapse their structure, and the rest would scatter. She inhaled deeply, forcing oxygen into her burning arms. The first man was gesturing at his radio. She fired, down. Another round chambered instantly. The second turned to move. Eyes wide, she led him half a step and pulled the trigger. He dropped before he reached cover. Time. 7 minutes, 51 seconds. 12 positions neutralized. 9 seconds to spare. The valley fell from a deafening storm of gunfire to a haunting silence, broken only by the occasional, aimless shot in the distance. The withering wall of coordinated fire that had been shredding the jungle collapsed into chaos. Fighters fired haphazardly now. No coordination, no leaders, no plan. And SEAL Team 9 was already moving with professional precision, using that sudden suppression to pull back in good order toward their extraction point. The training doing exactly what it was meant to do. The instant the pressure eased, they moved. Overwatch? This is Ground Team Echo. The team leader's voice cut through her earpiece. And for the first time, she heard real emotion under the professional tone. I don't know what the hell you just did up there, but we're mobile. We're getting our wounded out. You saved 8 lives. He paused, voice rough when he continued. Thank you doesn't begin to cover it, but thank you. Mara allowed herself precisely 5 seconds to feel the satisfaction, relief that those men would see their families again. Then habit and survival instinct took over. She broke down her firing position with practiced speed, preparing for extraction. The enemy would be hunting her now, and staying put was suicide. Every sniper knows the rule that the most dangerous moment is right after a successful engagement, when the enemy knows you're out there and is coming for you. She shouldered her rifle and gear and moved through the dense jungle toward her alternate pickup point, pacing herself with the slow, deliberate steps that keep operators alive in hostile country. Behind her, the thump of helicopter rotors grew louder as the quick reaction force arrived to cover the SEAL team's withdrawal. A new, deeper voice came across her radio. Overwatch, this is QRF Actual. SEAL team is secure and loading. What's your status? Mobile and clear, Mara answered professionally, breathing controlled despite the exertion. Proceeding to alternate extraction point. No immediate pursuit detected. Copy that. Sanitize your position and move to Echo Ridge. We'll have a bird waiting. Extraction in 30 minutes. She confirmed and kept moving. 30 minutes to cross 2 kilometers of dense tropical terrain, reach the landing zone, and vanish before anyone figured out where the sniper who'd saved a massacre had been hiding. She did it in 23 minutes. The helicopter was already on the ground, rotors turning as she stepped into the clearing. The crew chief waved her aboard urgently. As the bird lifted, she finally let the magnitude of what had happened settle in. 12 precision shots in 8 minutes, 8 lives saved. Decent work for a day. The after-action review happened 72 hours later in a black site that officially didn't exist, in front of people whose names had been scrubbed from the records. Mara sat across from Colonel Rains of Joint Tactical Command, Commander Holt, the SEAL commander she recognized, and her unit's CO. The room was bare except for a monitor feeding drone footage, radio transcripts, and ballistic analysis from the fight. The colonel spoke first, voice neutral and professional. "Captain Quinn, I've personally reviewed all available footage from your engagement. I've gone through the SEAL team's helmet cams, radio intercepts, and ballistic reports. Before we proceed, walk me through your decision-making in detail." Mara kept a steady, professional tone, the same voice she used for any debrief. "Sir, Ground Team Echo was pinned with multiple casualties, effectively surrounded and outnumbered roughly 10-1 based on muzzle flashes and radio intercepts. Air support was at least 30 minutes out. Standard doctrine would have had me maintain observation and coordinate incoming support." "But you didn't follow standard doctrine," Colonel Rains said flatly. "No, sir," Mara answered. "I ran a tactical estimate and determined the team had under 10 minutes before being overrun, based on enemy movement and the volume of fire. I had the position, the capability, and the gear to directly change the tactical picture." "You're saying you engaged 50-plus enemy combatants with a 50 caliber rifle?" the colonel pressed. "I assessed that action offered a far better chance of survival than staying put and watching them die," Mara replied. "I didn't need to kill all 50. I needed to take out the 12 positions coordinating the fire and the heavy weapons. Remove the coordination, and the 50 become 50 individuals with no unified plan." Commander Holt leaned forward, his face lined with the strain of combat. "Captain, my men are alive because you disobeyed direct orders and conducted what was essentially a solo direct action mission inside enemy territory. From where I sat in that valley, you showed exceptional judgment, combat skill, and you saved American lives against impossible odds." He glanced at Rains and then back to Mara. The colonel's tone hardened. "From a command perspective, Captain Quinn, you created a serious problem. You engaged without authorization, exposed yourself to extreme risk, operated beyond your assigned role, and made strategic choices that should have traveled up the chain. If you'd been killed or captured, it could have sparked an international incident and compromised ongoing operations," Rains added. "Yes, sir. I understand the implications," Mara said quietly, then added, "I don't think you fully grasped the alternative if I'd done nothing." The colonel set a file on the table between them. "I have 2 documents with your name." He opened the folder slowly. "One is a recommendation for a Silver Star for conspicuous gallantry in action. The other is a formal reprimand for disobeying orders and exceeding authority." He let that settle in. "Both are justified, and both will enter your record." Mara nodded and accepted it. She'd saved lives, but she'd broken rules to do it. In special operations, those trade-offs were messy and unavoidable. Rains's voice softened a fraction. "There's a 3rd document." He tapped the file. "A recruitment request from a highly classified unit that's been watching you for some time. Today's mission convinced them you're exactly who they've been looking for," Colonel Rains said. Mara's commanding officer spoke up for the first time. "Captain Quinn, this unit runs operations where a single operator, someone with technical mastery and absolute independence, can shape outcomes in denied zones. Long-range precision strikes where conventional forces can't go. Solo infiltrations and engagements in places where backup doesn't exist and never will. Missions where one person must make tactical or even strategic calls in real time that can save lives or spark international chaos." Mara kept her tone measured. "What unit are we talking about, sir?" "You won't know that until you accept their recruitment offer," Rains replied. What I can tell you is they've monitored your record for over a year. Every mission, every shot, every judgment call. What happened 3 days ago wasn't a fluke to them. It proved you think and operate exactly the way they need. Commander Holt added, "These are the people called when nothing else works. When the situation's too delicate, too political, or too impossible for a team. They need operators who move alone, think freely, and finish missions that officially never existed." Mara listened, weighing the words. She'd joined to make a difference, to serve something bigger than herself, but deployments had taught her the greatest impact often came from the shadows. Working off-book, where one skilled hand could change everything. Rains studied her expression. "You don't have to decide now. Take some time and think about the career you want. But if you accept, you'll be leaving conventional special ops behind. You'll operate alone, without backup, with no guaranteed extraction. The jobs will be riskier, the stakes higher, and there'll be no recognition, because nothing you do will ever officially exist." "When do I decide, sir?" 72 hours, he answered. "After that, the offer disappears and you return to your unit." Mara rose, standing at attention. "Thank you, sir. You'll have my answer in 48. As she turned to leave, Holt stood and offered his hand. "Whatever you choose, Captain. My men and I owe you our lives. That's not something we forget." She gripped his hand firmly. "Just doing my job, sir." "No," he said quietly. "You did what had to be done. Rules be damned. Don't ever lose that." Mara spent the next 2 days reflecting on her career, her motives, and what she truly wanted from the skills she'd honed. She thought of the 8 men who went home alive because she refused to follow the book. She replayed every scenario where a single skilled operator, placed at the right moment, could flip a mission from success to catastrophe, or vice versa. She made up her mind in 36 hours. 18 months later, Captain Mara Quinn, though she no longer used that rank in her current assignment, stood on a different ridge in another unnamed country. Watching through her scope as a convoy threaded a narrow mountain pass. The brief had been blunt. Eliminate a high-value target in the third vehicle, someone whose survival threatened regional stability and U.S. interests. Simple in wording, complex in practice. The convoy numbered 12 vehicles with more than 60 armed guards and mobile air defense systems that ruled out helicopter insertions or drone strikes. The safe play would have been to wait for a better window, a cleaner tactical picture. But intelligence labeled this a one-shot opportunity. Miss it, and the target would vanish into terrain even this unit couldn't reach. Mara had spent 3 days infiltrating alone through some of the planet's harshest ground, carrying rifle and minimal supplies to survive. She'd lain in position for 18 hours, modeling wind shifts, temperature gradients, and the dozens of variables that dictate a shot at extreme range. 847 meters, a steep downward angle, fickle mountain winds, a moving armored target. A shot most snipers would call impossible. Mara had built her name on impossible shots. She chambered a round, ran final calculations, and settled into the posture honed over thousands of hours. Before she left the jungle unit, the SEALs had given her a patch. Improvised, against regs, but earned, and she wore it now on her gear. 12 targets, 8 minutes, 1 shot, 1 kill, no excuses. She'd earned that cloth in a valley choked with green by proving the deadliest person on a battlefield is often the one patient enough, skilled enough, and stubborn enough to take the shot when everyone else says it can't be done. The convoy hit her optimal firing window, the third vehicle moving at roughly 40 kilometers an hour, the target visible through the glass for about 2 seconds, as the truck rounded a bend. 2 seconds to change a regional strategic picture. 2 seconds to justify 3 days of insertion and 18 hours of waiting. Mara slowed her breath, found the tiny empty beat between heartbeats, and remembered the lesson the jungle had taught her. The manual says one sniper can't change the battle, but the manual doesn't account for snipers who refuse to accept the impossible or to watch good people die under rules that don't match reality. The target vehicle rounded the curve. Through her scope, Mara saw the passenger perfectly, exactly who Intel had promised. Her finger rested on the trigger, pressure familiar, muscle memory born of 1,000 repetitions. In the valley below, the target's vehicle was seconds from rounding the curve and vanishing. Completely unaware his life was now measured by the time a .50 caliber round needed to cross 847 meters of mountain air. She squeezed. The Barrett thundered, the recoil slamming into her shoulder and absorbed by the rifle's dampers. Through her scope, she followed the round for its single-second flight. Impact. The vehicle jerked violently, the driver reacting to something catastrophic in the front seat. The convoy scattered into defensive formation, vehicles accelerating, fanning out, guards deploying to scan for threats. But Mara was already moving, breaking down her setup and beginning the 3-day exfiltration that would get her clear long before anyone guessed where the shot had come from. Mission complete. Target down. Strategic balance shifted. One rifle, one operator, one shot that would never be mentioned, celebrated, or even recorded. As she crossed the mountain ridges, Mara thought of the 8 men from Shalori Valley who'd made it home because of her trigger finger, of the threat she'd just erased, of every silent mission she'd carried out since joining Unit Spectre. Operations that stopped attacks, saved lives, and changed outcomes the world would never hear about. This, she'd realized, was the real war. Not the grand battles with fleets and fanfare, but the quiet, exact strikes from the shadows. One skilled operator at the right place and moment, making the shot that shifted everything. The manuals said one person couldn't change the odds. Mara Quinn had built a career proving them wrong, one impossible shot at a time, and she wasn't done yet. Thank you for watching. Subscribe to Old Bill's Tales for more powerful stories of brave women in uniform.